My boyfriend broke up with me when I told him I was pregnant now. 13 years later he came back and wants to meet his kids. Am I the asshole for saying no? 13 years ago, Aaron and I were inseparable. We were young, in love, and completely obsessed with each other. Every morning started with him texting me a good morning beautiful, and every night ended with him whispering how much he loved me as we fell asleep together. People called us relationship goals, and for a while, it really felt like nothing could ever come between us. We laughed at each other's dumb jokes, shared every secret, and dreamed about a future filled with a little house, maybe a dog, and someday, a family. I never doubted that we'd make it. I thought he was my forever, but then the signs started. At first, it was small things: morning nausea I couldn't shake, dizzy spells, and a strange exhaustion that wouldn't go away. I brushed it off at first, thinking it was stress from work or just a virus. But the symptoms didn't stop. Weeks went by, then a month, and my period still hadn't come. That's when the worry started to creep in. Something didn't feel right. I started noticing my clothes fitting differently, my body changing in ways I couldn't explain. I decided to take a pregnancy test. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. I peed on it, waited, and then stared in disbelief at the 2 lines. Positive. My heart skipped a beat, then raced. I couldn't trust it at first. I bought 4 more tests, each one confirming the same terrifying, unbelievable truth. I was pregnant. I remember standing in the bathroom, staring at the tests, feeling a storm of emotions: fear, excitement, hope, and panic all at once. I thought of Aaron immediately. I thought of our plans, our love, our future, and I knew I had to tell him. When I finally told him, I expected maybe shock, maybe tears, maybe a hug. I expected anything but what happened. He laughed, a cold, sharp laugh that cut through me like glass. And then, almost casually, he asked, "Are you sure it's even mine?" I froze, my hands shook, my chest tightened so much I could barely breathe. The boy I had loved, the boy I had dreamed of a life with, had just obliterated all of that in one sentence. All the plans, all the promises, all the late-night talks about forever, gone. My heart broke in ways I didn't think were humanly possible, and in that moment, I realized the person I thought I knew, the man I loved with everything in me, wasn't who I thought he was. "You might need to consider an abortion if you want us to stay together. I can't have my life put on pause for a kid." I felt my stomach drop, my heart was racing, my hands trembling. He was the only person I'd ever been with, the only person I had trusted completely, and now he was telling me he didn't want me or our child. "I can't," I whispered, tears streaming freely. "I can't do that." He sighed, rubbed the back of his neck, and said it like it was nothing. "I'm no longer interested. This isn't what I want." I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. I wanted him, but I couldn't force him to be the father I needed him to be. So I turned to my mom. I told her everything: the fear, the heartbreak, the crushing weight of knowing I had to make this decision alone. Her face fell, and I could see the hurt in her eyes, but she didn't push me. She told me she'd support whatever I chose. Then came the nightmare I didn't expect. I reached out to his family, hoping for at least some understanding, some support, but instead, they called me a liar. They told me never to contact them again, said I was trying to ruin their son's future. I felt my world collapse around me. Alone, scared, and unsupported, I realized I couldn't let anyone else decide my child's fate. I made the hardest decision of my life. I was keeping my child. A few months later, I went in for an ultrasound, heart hammering in my chest. That's when the doctor smiled and said, "You're having twins, a boy and a girl." I couldn't believe it. My fear turned into a fierce determination. They were mine, and I knew even then that I would protect them no matter what. Every appointment, every doctor visit, every first step, every first word, they were milestones I shared only with my mom. She was the one who held my hand through the nights I had to stay in the hospital, the one who stayed up with me when I had to go back to school the next morning, exhausted and terrified. She was my anchor when everything else felt like it was falling apart. Eventually, life got better. I worked hard, found a job that paid well, and slowly built a life for myself and my kids that felt safe. I moved my mom and the twins across state lines. To a place where we never had to worry about rent, bills, or not having enough, a place where the future felt bright instead of scary. I became braver, stronger, smarter. I learned how to provide, how to protect, how to love fiercely even when my heart still carried the scars of the past. But some things never got easier. Whenever the twins asked about their father, I felt my chest tighten. When we were out and they saw other kids their age playing with their dads, I felt a pang of sadness I couldn't hide. Still, they never needed him. And as I watched them grow, laughing, learning, and thriving, I realized something: I loved them enough for both parents. I was their world, their protector, their safe place, and even though there were moments of fear and sadness, I knew I was giving them everything they would ever need, and maybe even more than they'd ever imagine. Now, the twins were old enough to understand a little, to ask questions, to notice things. They were curious about the world, about their family, about who they were. And then, out of nowhere, he reached out, the one who had walked away when I needed him most. He wanted to meet his child, to get to know his son or daughter, not knowing that I had twins, a boy and a girl. He told me he was dumb, immature, and that he just wasn't ready back then, but now he was ready to be a dad, ready to show up. I felt a storm of emotions I couldn't control. Part of me wanted to scream, to shut the door on him forever. Another part of me wanted to protect the kids from disappointment, from heartbreak, from him leaving again, and deep down, I knew one thing for certain: this wasn't my decision to make. I couldn't make them love him, I couldn't make them accept him, and I wouldn't. When the twins asked questions, I answered honestly, carefully, without coloring the past, but I also left space for them to feel what they felt. And if one day they wanted to know him, wanted him in their lives, that would be their choice, not mine.